Hello, I'm hoping I'm out of the worst of the wind here in my little alcove. I won't know till I'm editing, by which time it'll be too late. So I'm hoping for the best. Work in Progress Wednesday. So what I have to start off this week is this, which is bag number 2700. And this is not from my aunt's fabric stash. If you've been following along at home, and you may have been, you'll know that most of the bags I've made this year have been from my late aunt's fabric stash that she left to me. Some of that's been turned into clothes, some of it is yet to be turned into clothes, and a lot of it is yet to be turned into bags. But this is from the op shop. And why did I buy fabric when I've got so much fabric in the house already? And that is a fair question. The answer is an ironing board cover. So I've got one of those little mini IKEA ironing boards, it's about that long, and it's the perfect size to prepare bags on because I fold and press the handles and also the top folds, which you can probably see in there, to give a nice neat finish. And I took the ironing board cover off to wash it, hung it up to dry, and it is gone and nobody knows where it is. So I needed to make another one, which I did. And when I spotted this fabric at the op shop, I thought that would be a really cute ironing board cover. And I was right, it is a really cute ironing board cover. And of course I had enough left over to make bags with. So that is my milestone bag, 2700. And I've put the bags away temporarily again to get the loom out. And I've got something that was on the loom that is no longer on the loom, and it's down there, and I'll grab it. Okay, so this was on the loom, it is no longer on the loom. This is, I'll show you how long it is. It goes back that long. Oh no, a bit further back, hang on. There we go, don't fall down a hole. There we go. And it also goes that way. This is yarn from my aunt's stash. Now, I've got a market coming up in September, which is a bit worrying. I'm trying not to think about it, but I would like to have some more stock. This is not wet finished yet because, I mean, you've met me. I'm just not that organised. It will be wet finished, but it's not wet finished yet, so it's still got all its ends on it. Now this yarn is Motivera Salome, which is long discontinued. I don't know when she bought it. I don't know what she planned for it. I think it would be awful to knit or crochet with. I'll show you, I've got a strand in my pocket because it is a bit of a fever dream of a yarn. So it is acrylic, merino, mohair and nylon. And the nylon, if you can see, I don't think you can because I'm showing you quite badly. I've got to try, I need like one more hand. There's a little dark strand, might be easier to see on this rainbow bit there, holding all these loops together. But the whole yarn is just these loops of alternating burgundy and colour. And I think this is probably the merino and this is probably the mohair. I don't know that I would crochet with it because I think it would be uncomfortable to crochet with. So it is kind of a fever dream of a yarn, but it has woven up quite nicely. I only had 3 balls, and obviously with it discontinued, I couldn't get more. So it's not quite as long as I wanted it to be. And it is actually a skipped dent, and you can't tell so much at the moment that it's a skipped dent. I'll show you what I mean. I took a photograph because I didn't expect to finish it so quickly. So it came off the loom a lot sooner. I was going to talk you through it today, but I've got a photo of it. Normally when you warp up a loom, you put a thread through every hole and every slot. That's generally speaking. There are other techniques, but broadly speaking, a thread in every hole, a thread in every slot. With a skipped dent, you just skip some dents. So in this case, I've skipped 2 on each side and then 4 in the middle. And the idea behind that was to give it some texture where it's not held down by the warp, so the plain weave doesn't hold it down. And I don't know that you can really see. It's a little bit thicker there and a little bit thicker at the sides, but it's not particularly obvious yet. It may become more obvious after the wet finish. I don't know. We will find out when I get round to wet finishing it, because of course it's not. That's why it's still got all its ends on. It's also not going to have a fringe. At the moment it does have this sort of inverted fringe sticking up here. You can just sort of see there. And that's because I've taken the fringe and woven it back into the piece. So once it's wet finished, I'll get some very fine sharp scissors and cut this fringe off so that there won't be a fringe. It'll just end like that. So that's off the loom. There is something on the loom, so I'll show you that now. It's been a while since I've shown you something on the loom while it's still on the loom. So here's what's on the loom, and it is reds. It is 4 yarns, but 3 different reds. So that makes sense, but now I've said it out loud, it doesn't. But I'll talk you through the yarns. These are, 2 of these are definitely discontinued. 1 of them I haven't checked because I'm not that organised. So this is a very fluffy, sticky yarn. You can see there all the fluff surrounding it. And that is, let me get the label. It's called Embrace. I can't remember who made it because I've lost that bit of the label. but look how fluffy that is. It's reasonably soft. It's not as soft as it looks. And it is a mix of mohair and acrylic. While this one, which I'm working with at the moment, is called Entice. It's by Lincraft. I think it's discontinued because this is from my aunt's yarn stash. This one and also this one are both from her stash. So I don't know how old they are. I don't know when they were bought, but I would say that they're probably discontinued because everything else that I've found in there is. So this is a nylon yarn, I think I said, and it is really soft, really, really soft. And I'm using that for some texture work here. And then for the plain yarn, I've got this, which is Hobie Yarn Baby Merino. And this is the standard size, like that. I don't know why I went quite so high-pitched on that one. But I've got the Baby Merino XL as the warp. So it's the same colour and it's the same yarn. It's just a bit thicker in the warp. And I've got, I'll just move the camera slightly, just slightly, do some zooming. So for the warp, it is that Hobie XL, which is, it's Baby Merino XL, which is not hugely thicker than the, like I don't know that there's any real main difference, though it is under tension at the moment, so that might explain it. I feel like it was a bit thicker in the ball. And then I've got some of the nylon and some of the fluffy mohair acrylic, so that's there. I've got the novelty yarns just in slots so that they don't get too much friction from the heddle, which should hopefully keep them holding together. They're working so far, and it is all working so far. I don't know what it's going to look like when it's off the loom, but for the time being, this is what I'm playing with, all of the reds. I do have a tiny bit of progress on the cross stitch, but I figured it wasn't enough to hold up and show you, so I've left it in the house. I'll show you next week and you can be hugely impressed with the huge amount of progress I've made rather than the 17 or 18 stitches I've put in this week. I think it's probably more than that, but it's not like, I looked at the photo from last week and looked at it this week and thought, it's not really worth holding up. Maybe next week. What I do have is temperature snake. So because we've reached the end of July, July has happened, it's over, we've got to move on. And we've started August already. So here's how the snake's looking. I haven't marked between the months like some people do, so I don't actually know which bit is July. I suppose I could count back, but I don't have that kind of time. And also something's happened here, I think probably an increase. There's supposed to be 20 stitches in each round, and sometimes I have 22 and sometimes I have 18. It all works out, it shakes out in the end. You can fix it in the next round. But that is the snake. I'm trying to get it all in shot. Still hasn't got any eyes. I'm thinking about it one of these days. So there is the snake up until the end of July, and now I've got to get started on August because that's how months work. And that is pretty much all I have for you this week. So thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go and get back on the loom. Not actually on it because I would break it, but I will do some weaving with all that fun red stuff. And I will see you next week. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.